different steps in preparing this. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to make a mushroom stock. Because we're going to be using all the caps in the final incident, and because as chefs we really love to be frugal, the first thing we're starting off is we have all the mushroom stems, which aren't really that great to eat, but they have a tremendous amount of flavor. We're going to take a little olive oil and put it in the pan. Then we're going to caramelize carrots and get them a nice, rich, dark color. After that, we're going to put in mushrooms, the mushroom stems from it, and then the leeks, the green top. You always read in recipes where they say, take the nice white part of the leek and use it in the finished cooking recipe. Well, the bonus is you have all those gorgeous green tops, which are fantastic for stocks. So we're going to put those down in there. Cover it with water, and then we let it boil, or simmer, I should say boil, let it simmer, for probably about an hour, and then let it pour it off and let it come off to go ahead and let it just sit. We just let that come to a simmer, and so that's the very first step. The last thing we're going to do in creating our mushroom stock is we would add a little bit of herbs. We have a sachet bag, and a sachet bag traditionally would contain thyme and bay leaf and peppercorns, and that is true. In addition, here we've got some sage. So this pot is smaller, this is bigger, so this would go in there almost like a tea bag. After the stock had set, I pull it off and we tighten it so that there's a little viscosity. When you're tightening your stock, if you're not dealing with somebody who has a wheat allergy, you go in and finish it with a classic roux, which is just 1-to-1 flour to oil. Now, obviously, I could use a cornstarch or some other type of potato starch, anything else to tighten it up. I'm just trying to increase the viscosity on that stock. After that stock had developed, I'd be all ready to go. My friends with Indian Harvest had this fantastic brown rice and black barley, they call it black pearl medley, and it has little daikon radish seeds in it. And so I got intrigued by this and said, okay, what can I do? Well, let me see if I could create a risotto from brown rice. What we did is we took this gorgeous black pearl medley, you can see it here, and you can see all the nice colors in it and everything else that's going on. And I covered it with boiling water, and then I let it set overnight. What I get is rice, which is a little bit soft, but because it wasn't really simmered in the water, I have a softer outside, but I still have my firm center core there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to approach this just as I would in making a risotto. In risotto, you start off by sauteing your arborio rice, finishing with wine. I'm going to do that. But the other key to making a nice risotto is you have to have a nice hot stock that you're adding and you're stirring. And it's that process of continual stirring that generates that special element of risotto. It's the liqueur. It's this nice starchy broth that creates almost a creamy sensation in and of itself. This is the mushroom stock that had already been made. And I need to bring that up to a nice simmer. I'm going to get the pan nice and hot to start the actual risotto itself. Starting off with sauteed leeks. This is more the white part, the pale part of the leek. A little bit of olive oil. And then I'm going to go ahead and start in handling this soaked risotto just as I would have had it been a regular arborio rice. So I'm sauteing it off with the leeks, and the first step is that acid, because risotto has its sauce built in. You need acid so that it bridges with the other component. You're only putting a sauce over a chicken breast or a steak or a piece of salmon, and you need that acid so it bridges and it's light and cleansing. Well, in risotto, you have the sauce sort of built in. So I need acid as part of that component. And it's nice that it actually is contained in the grain itself. So that's why when you're first starting to cook risotto, you always start with white wine. That key to cooking a risotto is allowing that each time you add liquid, you cook it down until it's about, there's just enough liquid left in the pan to keep it moist so it doesn't scorch, but you're letting it reduce down. So we're cooking this down here, and what I'm going to want to do is allow that to come down to the point where it's just going to start to almost look like it's dry. Once that happens, I'm going to start adding the mushroom stock. And on that mushroom stock, I'm just going to add it a little bit at a time so that it absorbs and reduces. I would keep doing this over an extended period of time. It would normally take me about 20-25 minutes, which would be about a glass and a half of wine. By soaking the rice overnight and by constantly moving it as it's cooking, I really start to draw off that outer layer of starch from both the brown rice and from the barley, and it creates its own thickening agent. And each time I'm adding the mushroom stock, it is absorbed into it. So after I've added all the mushroom stock that's from the recipe, then I go ahead and I switch over to water for that finishing component there. I'm adding the water in batches until I like the consistency. So at the end of the day, I have my cooked risotto. So now I'm going to go ahead and finish the dish. Once again, a little dash of olive oil in the pan. We're going to let that get good and hot. And then we're going to saute off the ingredients. I'm going to go ahead and put my wedged radishes in there. Some artichoke hearts. The rest of those mushrooms, we took the top of the mushroom. All we did was we sliced them, tossed them in a little olive oil, some salt and pepper, and then we roasted them in the oven. So now I'm going to take those roasted mushrooms, just give you a little bit firmer bite. I'm going to add a little salt and pepper here. This is some of the cooked risotto that we'd already finished off. I'm going to add a little bit of water to get that softened up a little bit. Then I'm adding some fresh thyme. I'm adding some chopped Italian flat leaf parsley. So we have this gorgeous risotto dish. We're going to finish this with just a little bit of soy milk. Soy milk reduces very nicely. We're going to finish it with a little bit of that salt. This whole grain risotto there, and you'll see that there's a nice amount of liquid, and I hope that you will enjoy this as your side dish with your salmon or your chicken, whichever choice you made. Thank you very much.